What is up, Packers Nation? Happy Thursday. Welcome into this all new bonus edition of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can follow the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Overjoyed to be here with you today. We're going to be going over grades in just a moment. I know everyone's been asking for them. My apologies that they are late. It's been a crazy week, specifically with launching our brand new Pack-A-Day radio show on The Fan in Milwaukee. You can get it on 105.7 and 12:50 a.m., 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday. Plus, you can get it on thefanmilwaukee.com. You can also find it on the Odyssey app. So make sure to check that out. Would you ever have imagined we have a Pack-A-Day radio show? The brand continues to grow. I am so thankful and excited about it. Also want to go over our brand new Pack-A-Day podcast YouTube members: Jack Glowacki, Renee Nunez, John Grunwald, Muncie D GPG, Mr. Yuji Vang, Weed, and Antip Adadindis. Appreciate you guys signing up. Thank you so much for that. We are closing in on 500 YouTube members. We'll do something. We'll do a giveaway. We'll do something to celebrate when we get to 500. I should probably say it so that there's more incentive to sign up, but just go do it. It is so worth your while. Like 3 to 4 extra episodes from Ross Uglum every single week. You are getting an episode with Aaron Nagler and I. You are getting a members-only Q&A, early access to videos, a bunch of other stuff. So make sure to check those memberships out. Also, want to tell you about Autograph. All right. Earlier this week, did a exclusive episode over on Autograph, breaking down these rookie performances, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, and how they are changing the face of this Packers defense right in front of our very eyes. Later this week, I'm going to be going over the 3 key matchups to Packers-Texans. You're not going to want to miss that. So download the Autograph app. It can be on any of your phones, mobile phones, devices, obviously Android, Apple, anything in between. So make sure to go and do that. It is free. The code that you can use to get signed up is Pack-A-Day, all one word. But again, totally free to get signed up, and all of your Packers news, information, podcasts, articles, everything, all in one-stop shop. So make sure to check that out. Now, I have not had the opportunity yet, before we get to our grades, to go over the Brandon McManus situation. Now, on Wednesday on the Pack-A-Day radio show, I broke down the entire legal situation and my thoughts on all of that. My plan was to do this on our show as well, here on the YouTube channel and on the audio side as well. With the news that the civil suit is done, it's been closed, and it's, there's been no comment on either side. It's confidential as to what exactly happened there. With that being closed, no ongoing legal issues and no issues with the NFL, it sort of seems like, all right, are we really going to continue to go into the off-field side of things when this is all sort of wrapped up? If you want my thoughts on it, you can go out there on the Odyssey app. The Wednesday show is out there. You can get my full detailed take on it. And I definitely went into it. My overarching take that I will tell you is I don't know how to judge it. I just don't know how. I was not on the plane. I would love to take everyone's word for it on both sides. There are 2 very different sides of the story, and I don't know how I'm supposed to glean one way or the other of who's right and who's wrong. I would love if we lived in some utopian world where everyone just told the truth all the time, but that is unfortunately not the world that we live in. And I don't have the ability to say, yep, clearly this guy's a huge whatever adjective you want to use, and he should not be on the team, or like clearly he was set up, or there's some sort of other situation here. I don't know how to judge it. I just don't. And I think that makes it very, very complicated. Listen, if you are upset with Green Bay for signing a kicker that has these, allegations that were out there against him, I understand it. And I'm certainly not judging you. If you are more of like, hey, this is a world in which we live. It is innocent until proven guilty. There's no issues in a court of law. There's no issues with the NFL. The Packers did their own research into it, found that they were comfortable making the signing. I trust that side of things. I totally understand that as well. I don't know one way or the other how to make any sort of judgment on it, other than to know that he is now the Packers kicker. The off-field issues are seemingly behind him. Hopefully there's no other issues that come up. There are 3 scenarios that can ultimately take place here. It can continue to be a non-issue on the off-field side of things, and he becomes a great kicker in Green Bay, and it's a huge signing for Brian Gutekunst and company. It could be no off-field issues, and he's terrible, and it's another failed experiment at kicker. Or it could be that more issues do come up, and it looks like there's a ton of egg on the face of the Green Bay Packers, and a lot of questions will have to be asked as to why they decided to go down this road to sign him. Now, hopefully, there's no off-field issues, and hopefully he goes on to kick great for Green Bay, and that's it. That's what certainly I am cheering for. But outside of that, when it comes to the off-field stuff, I don't know where to go with it other than I don't have the information, the knowledge, the training, or the even desire to judge in this situation when I just don't have all of the evidence that I would need in order to be able to do so. And maybe you could say that's convenient, or, maybe it's not what I'm supposed to be doing as somebody who is talking about the Packers. I'm supposed to have this aggressive take one way or the other. If I felt strongly, all right, if there was a video of Brandon McManus shooting hundreds out and whatever, and clearly doing bad things, I would be very aggressive in saying this, I cannot believe Green Bay is doing this. If there was very clear evidence that nothing happened, if we had a video and there were these allegations and we had the video of the whole thing and he's just chilling there, sipping a pina colada and watching, doom scrolling on his phone, be like, all right, this is ridiculous. Why is he even being charged with anything in the first place? I just don't know. I was not there and we don't have any evidence that I have seen. And so therefore, I just have to trust the process, I guess, more than anything. And the process from a legal standpoint and from an NFL standpoint and from a Packers standpoint has said, we're good to go. And so here we are. He is the Packers kicker. Hopefully everything goes all right. And hopefully we don't have to discuss an off-field issue for a 33-year-old kicker where Green Bay is clearly desperate to bring somebody in. On the field, it makes all the sense in the world, right? You can say, well, he's an 81.4% career field goal kicker. Anders Carlson was 81.8. All right. I understand the exact number there and why it might seem that way. And you might say McManus was 81.1% in 2023, was 77.8% in 2022. Even his best season in 2015, he made only 85% of his kicks, 85.7. But you have to look at it closer. In 2023, on any kicks, 49 and under, anything under 50, whether it was extra points or field goals, he was 60 of 62 last year. All right, 35 of 35 on extra points, 25 of 27 on field goals from 49 and under, 96.8%. In 2022, he was 90% on all kicks, 50 or 49 yards and under 50 yards, 45 of 50. In his career, he is 520 of 550, 94.5% on all kicks under 50 yards. That includes 208 of 229, 90.8% on all field goals under 50 yards. So, no matter what way you want to slice it, if you want to make your field goals 49 and under, he's going to do it somewhere between a 90 to 95% clip, basically year over year and through his career so far. If you want anything 50 plus, it's basically a coin flip, but you know that going into the kick. If it's 50 plus, all right, we have no idea. Flip a coin and decide if you want to take that chance or not. Anything 49 or under, there is a darn good chance that thing is going through the uprights. And that is what most Packer fans have been asking for a while now, is like, hey, if you're bad from 50 plus, fine, so be it. I understand it. I get it. Those are harder field goals. We can live with that. Just make your 49 and unders. Just make your 49 and unders. And through his career, and going back to last year, the year before that, this is what he has done throughout his career. 49 and under, whether it's an extra point or a field goal, that thing is going through the uprights a huge percentage of the time. And from again, on-field standpoint, I can absolutely beyond live with that. So hopefully this is all behind us. He's the kicker moving forward. He will wear number 17 for Green Bay, and we will see what comes of it from here. And hopefully there are no other off-field concerns that come out with Brandon McManus. Last but not least, before we get to grades, injury update from Thursday. Devontae Wyatt, the only player not practicing in any capacity. Elton Jenkins and Colby Wooden both returned to practice. Everyone that was limited on Wednesday was still practicing on Thursday, including Dontavian Wicks and Josh Myers. So that is all a great sign. It looks like Green Bay could be only without Devontae Wyatt this week. Still a big loss, a big injury, but great news still that all the other players are seemingly good to go this week. We'll see what the official injury report is, especially on Friday when we get the final designations. But right now it's looking pretty good so far heading against Houston this Sunday. All right, let's go to grades from Packers Cardinals this past week, where Green Bay really dominated the entirety of the game. Our top three graded players on offense this week: Jordan Love with a plus 3.00. Let's start right there. The beautiful thing about Jordan's play in this one is that there are very few negatives. And when you're looking at quarterback grades, there's a lot of opportunities for positives and negatives, right? I tell you all the time, the quarterback is primarily going to be on one of the two lists, just because there's so much opportunity with the ball in their hand to either make a bunch of positive plays, a bunch of negative plays, and sometimes it can even out a little bit, but usually you're going to come out on one side of the ledger. With Jordan in this game, there's just so few negatives that you can really take away from him. I mean, there is the one play to Ben Sims down the sidelines where he underthrows it a little bit, like, and it's still complete, but it's definitely underthrown if he hits him. But what's the difference? Sims maybe gets like 10 more yards on that play. It's still, you would like it to be better, but we're not talking about like he completely missed his target and it was an incompletion. Like, he still made the right read on the play. He got it to the right guy. It was still a completion. It was still a big gain. So if like that's like your biggest negative on the day, like that's pretty darn good. The interception's not a negative on Jordan at all. By the time he rips that, Melton's coming out of his break, ready to catch an easy pass. It's the right read, the right decision, the right throw. Melton slips on the turf and it ends up going right into the hands of the defender. Nothing Jordan did wrong on that play at all. So no negative in any way on that play. Outside of that, it was almost all positive plays for Jordan through pretty much the entirety of the game. And you have some big time throws, the deep post to Christian Watson, the 4th and 2 to Christian Watson, the touchdown to Romeo Doubs is on a line, the touchdown perfectly placed to Jaden Reed, and then even the play to Doubs where he throws it up. I still love the ball. I love the decision. It's 3rd and 4 on that play, I think it was, on the 20-yard line. And you have an opportunity for one of those Wayne Larrivee daggers to throw it right then and there to end the game. And he's got Dontavian Wicks. It's a 50-50 ball. He throws it where Doubs has the better opportunity to go get it. And he went and got it. Doubs paid it off, and it was a touchdown. I think your downside there is, in all likelihood, if Doubs doesn't come down with it, it's probably incomplete. There's a good chance that Doubs does come down with it, at least probably a 50-50 chance, right? Even if the corner makes some sort of crazy play, and he picks it off, or even then it's probably broken up. If he picks it off somehow, maybe down at the 1 to 2 yard line, and you've got them backed up deep into their end zone, not the worst case in the world. And probably the worst case is that somehow the corner picks it off and it's a touchback and they get it at the 20. Again, you're maybe taking 3 points off the board, but I think the reward is worth the risk in that situation. I'm not sure how much of that was entirely calculated in Jordan's head pre-snap or during the play, but I have no issue with the ultimate decision there and throwing it up to Romeo and giving him a good ball to go and get. And the other thing too is, on those plays where the receiver's coming back to it, how many times do we see the corner grab the receiver or take him down and get a pass interference penalty there too? So there were a lot of good things that could have happened, and the bad things that could have happened were pretty slim, especially when you're up 18 and it's 3rd and 4 anyway. So I didn't mind that decision. I thought Jordan played a great game. He scrambled for a couple first downs, and you just end up with a lot of positives on that ledger, a lot of big time throws, and just hardly any negatives on the day whatsoever. Romeo Doubs was the 2nd highest graded player, plus 1.05. One in nondescript catch, and then 2 other ones that were obviously massive plays in the game. Both touchdowns that we talked about just now with Jordan. The out route, good out route, and then the great body control to keep himself in bounds and do the little dive into the end zone for the touchdown. The great celebration with his teammates after, and then of course going up and getting that 50-50 ball, paying it off. Once again, great body control, stays in bounds, gets in the end zone. 2 key touchdowns on the day. So awesome day for Romeo. Had one other play where he ran a great route and the ball didn't come his way, but that was a positive on that one as well. But overall, really nice day for Romeo Doubs. And then once again, for the third time in 4 weeks. Now, he was on the negative side last week. I do think maybe an injury early in that game played a little bit of a part, but for the third time in 4 weeks in my top 3 grades for the entire offense, Sean Rhyan. And he didn't even get to play a full complement of snaps because he was subbing with Jordan Morgan in this one. I thought Rhyan was fantastic. He was the best run blocker for them on the day. He was moving some people. I thought in pass pro, he picked up blitzes and stunts really well. I thought he was, just in general in his one-on-ones in pass pro, held up. There were no penalties. There were no false starts or holds or illegal hands to the face. He was just playing a very, very clean brand of football. I have been so impressed with what he has put on tape so far this year. Again, a little bit of a hiccup last week in week 5, but overall, it's interesting because I don't hate the idea of getting Jordan Morgan the playing time. And we'll talk about Morgan more in just a second, but Ryan's playing very, very well and should be, I think, the starter and the guy in that spot. But it'll be interesting to see how that kind of evolves, because if Ryan just plays clearly better, do you kind of just need to give him that spot? I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't hate the competition, but like I said, third time in 4 weeks that Sean Rhyan is on the top 3 overall offensive grades. It's a great place to be, and he's doing a really nice job right now. Bottom 3 on offense, the aforementioned Jordan Morgan. He was my lowest graded player this week on offense, negative 0.35. Now, I know a lot of people saw Jordan early in this game, saw a couple big run blocks. Yeah, a couple nice blocks early in this game. Thought he kind of faded as the game went on. You could just tell. And Matt LaFleur didn't mince words in his press conference this week, saying looked like a guy who hasn't played in a while. He was rusty, needs to work on his pad level. Like he came out, he was not mincing words of saying like it needs to be better than that. And obviously paraphrasing a bit there, but overall, I thought again, early couple nice blocks. After that, you could just tell he was getting the feel for it again and just still getting that feel for guard. He was obviously a tackle in college through the entirety of his career, moving from the left side to the right side. There's a lot going on there. And then working off the rust from being out the past few weeks. So I'm not concerned about Jordan Morgan. I like the depth that he provides along that line. He's certainly not a bad player, but there's a lot of work and attention to detail and technique stuff that he needs to get cleaned up because right now it is very clearly a work in progress for Morgan. Rasheed Walker was the second lowest one, -0.2. This was a very interesting game. About early to mid third quarter in this one, Rasheed was one of my 2 to 3 highest graded players in this game. I thought he had a tremendous start to the game. And then things started to fall apart. And I thought as the game went on, his play declined. And maybe he got banged up a little bit. I'm not sure. But there was the holding penalty. I think it ended up getting declined, but still holding penalty. And on the play, he allowed a pressure anyway. That was late in the game. And in run blocking standpoint, just really struggled at the end as they were trying to sort of get that game, get the time wound down and kind of go in their 5-minute offense through a lot of it. He struggled to kind of get those guys off the ball and get them to that second level or just even seal the guys when he needed to. So I thought his blocking as the game went on got quite a bit worse, but it was really interesting because I thought he started the game awesome. Like he looked unbelievable in the first half. And then the second half, it was almost a complete opposite of what he showed in the first half. So it ended up as a slight negative. He was still a slight positive up until that holding penalty. Ends up with a slight negative with a -0.2, but very much a tale of two halves for Rasheed Walker. And Elton Jenkins would have been a slight positive in this one had it not been for 2 penalties. Had an illegal hands to the face early in the game. And then later in the game, when he moved to center, there was a play. It was actually Sean Ryan that got called for a false start. I thought it was going crazy because I'm watching this play because I see Sean Ryan called for a false start. I'm watching this play over and over and over. And I'm watching Sean Ryan. I'm like, he does not move. He does not move until everyone else moves. Like everyone gets off the ball at the same time. I'm like, what am I missing? I'm going crazy. And then I finally realized that, yes, Sean Ryan moved when everyone else moved, except for Elton Jenkins. Elton Jenkins didn't snap the ball on time. So he was like probably a half tick late where like everyone moves and then he kind of realizes it and then snaps it. So they had to call the false start on somebody. Sometimes you hear them say like false start on everyone but the center or something like that. That's what this was. So I'm like watching everyone. I'm like, what am I missing here? But it was actually Elton that forgot to snap the ball at the right time. Or I guess theoretically, Elton could be right and everyone else could be wrong. It's probably not the case. So Elton had that to play where, again, technically it wasn't called against him, but it was his fault on that one for not snapping it at the right time. Everyone else was moving and he was not, and he did not snap it. So the 2 penalties there, again, one that technically didn't get called against him, but was on him. And then the one earlier in the game was what put this in the negative. Otherwise, he would have graded as a slight positive in this one. Other noteworthy offensive players, Josh Jacobs plus 0.6, just tough yards. I thought there was one play in pass pro that I thought he kind of screwed up a little bit. Outside of that, he had another play where he picked it up nicely, caught the ball well out of the backfield, and then, ran just tough. There were a couple really nice runs. That one where he kind of hurdled the player and stiff armed somebody and, picked up 10, 12 yards on the play. Just a couple big time runs from him, even though it was only like 10 to 12 yards on the plays. It was scrappy yards. It was tough yards. It was stuff that just wasn't there, but he made the most of it. And that's kind of what we've seen from Jacob so far. I didn't think the run blocking was great in this one. It was okay. Kind of got some of those 2, 3, 4 yard gains, but Jacobs made some of those into 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 yard gains. And that's why he graded so well in this one. What other ones do we have from a noteworthy offensive one? So we had Josh Jacobs plus 0.6, Christian Watson plus 0.55. Obviously, the deep post was a huge part of that. Tucker Kraft -0.1. This was a crazy game from Kraft where there were like 4 or 5 really good blocks in this game, and there were 4 or 5 really bad blocks in this game. There were times where he didn't really get separation. There were times where he did get separation. This was a very Jekyll and Hyde game from Tucker Kraft where you throw in any one play and you're like, what is he doing? And then the next play, like, oh, he looks really good. It was a bizarro game. Some really good stuff. PFF had a much worse grade on Tucker Kraft for the week. I thought some of the positives that he did kind of counterbalanced it out a little bit more, but he did have probably 4 or 5 just really bad blocks in this game. And I could understand why. I just thought there was some stuff on the positive side that helped even that out a little bit more than maybe what PFF had thought. And then Zach Tom, plus 0.55, really, really nice game for Zach Tom. And he just continues to go out and be the consistent professional week in and week out, put positive scores on the board. Not the mauler, not the, he usually doesn't get any of those big time grades on the offensive line, but he rarely gets beat. So he's almost always in the positive side of the ledger. All right, top 3 on the defensive side, Evan Williams. The 2 big plays, right? Obviously the play behind the line of scrimmage on Kyler Murray and then the peanut punch. Outside of that, just tackled well, took great angles to the football, rallied to the football. He was just kind of everywhere and just playing really solid coverage. It was beautiful. It looked absolutely awesome from Evan Williams. He's a legitimate starter. He's really good. He's the top graded safety in the league by PFF, not just for rookies, for all safeties, even ahead of Xavier McKinney so far, which is telling. He looked really, really good in this game and was deserving every bit of that top grade. Carl Brooks, plus 0.9. I would say Brooks had pretty much an even grade in this game had it not been for, I thought, one of the best plays of the season. That was one of the best individual effort plays that we have seen so far in 2024 for Green Bay. The ability to diagnose and see the screenplay and then get over to the running back, utilizing his great quickness and agility, and then see the ball, knock the ball out, and recover the ball on his own. That's the trifecta. Great. It's really everything, right? It's great play recognition and awareness. It is fantastic athletic ability for a player his size to be able to even get to the point of making a play on the running back. Then it is the playmaking ability to knock the ball out and the ability to recover it on your own. Just a beautiful, perfect play from Carl Brooks. Outside of that, like I said, pretty nondescript game. Would have been almost an exact neutral game overall. But again, one of the best plays of the year so far, in my opinion, from Carl Brooks, especially from an individual effort standpoint. And then number 3, Edgerrin Cooper, plus 0.6. Dude's a stud. The big time run stops, the getting back in cover 2 and covering wide receivers and tight ends down the seam, the ability to get sideline to sideline. He had a blitz in this game that got there in like a millisecond. Just so happened that Kyler Murray got rid of the ball really quick. He was about to just absolutely brutalize Kyler Murray on the play. Man, is his quickness just special. It is explosive, shot out of a cannon, whatever lame cliche you want to use. It is all there. It is special. And he, even if he takes a false step, it almost doesn't even matter. And he usually doesn't. On his blitzes, he is so tight to the defensive player that he's coming around. And if you're a quarterback, you're not really seeing it. And then all of a sudden he pops and he's just there. It is explosive beyond explosive. I love watching him play. And he continues to put good tape out there with very, very, very few mistakes week in and week out so far. And there's some alignment issues still. I get it, but get that figured out. And this guy's going to be an absolute stud for this defense. On the flip side, bottom 3 defense, all first round picks. Quay Walker, negative 0.65. If you listen to the Mike Wall episode, I don't want to put any words in Mike's mouth, but you could tell the thinly veiled, hey, there's maybe another player that's maybe not playing to that level. Yeah. Quay's struggling. And we're about 2.5 years in, 2 different defenses. I'm willing to still give him a bit of time in this defense because we're not even a half a year into a new defense that he's playing. But you see the juxtaposition between Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper, and Cooper's a rookie and not even necessarily lining up in the right spots yet, and the stuff that he's doing compared to Quay, and there's a pretty big difference. It just has to be better from Quay to the point where, again, it kind of goes to the Josh Myers thing from years past. I don't care if, maybe you don't ever live up to the first round moniker, and that's fine. You don't have to be a star. You don't have to be a stud. Can you just be average? Can you just be solid? Can you just be okay? That would be awesome from Quay right now. Same thing like with Josh Myers over the years. Is I just need you to be okay. And so far this year, Josh Myers, better than okay. He's playing really good football right now. I like the way that Josh is playing. I just need Quay to get to that level. But I see some people say well, he's leading the team in tackles. He must be doing something right. Tackles are a terrible indicator. First of all, the tracking of that is brutal. Number 2, if you get a tackle 10 yards down the field, that doesn't necessarily mean a whole heck of a lot. It doesn't mean that you did your job. Doesn't mean that you took on a block, got off of it, and went and made a play. I will challenge you to say, what is it that Quay's doing well? It's not man coverage. It's not zone coverage. It's not run defense. It's not taking on blocks. Is he an okay blitzer? He's an okay blitzer. He's not a good blitzer. He's not a great blitzer. He's an okay blitzer. I'm fine with his blitzing ability. If everything else matched his blitzing ability, again, he'd be an average player, and I would take an average player. But it has been a big struggle for Quay so far this year. And for me, I don't know what you do. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to remain the starter. I still think you can get by with him as your kind of like bottom tier starter, but I hope they find a way to unlock that talent a little bit more, because there's talent there, but the instincts, the first step, the taking on blocks, the physicality, just not there so far. And I'm cheering for him, want him to do well, but hasn't been there so far. LVN, negative 0.45, another first-round pick. Thought this was his worst game, just failed to make an impact as a pass rusher, got worked around the edge a couple times. In run defense, wasn't even really able to make any significant stops. Nothing that you would point to and be like, oh my goodness, what the heck is he doing? Or like any terrible, brutal plays, but just really failed to make an impact, and the offensive tackles got the better of him through the vast majority of the day. And then Eric Stokes, negative 0.35. He barely got in, and he's kind of losing those snaps week by week by week, understandably so. Big play in this one. I don't know if you remember it, but there's a play from the TV copy where you see a throw to the corner of the end zone, receivers open, and Kyler overthrows it. Stokes got burnt on the play. Like, Stokes got absolutely toasted by the wide receiver. Should have been a touchdown. Stokes should have given up a touchdown in this game. He got lucky that Kyler overthrew it. The Packers got lucky that Kyler overthrew it, but that should have been a big touchdown allowed by Eric Stokes on probably like a 20, 30-yard play. He just got burnt, and that continues to be an issue for Eric Stokes. So that's another first-round pick that hasn't been going great. So Quay and Stokes especially, LVN is still a net positive for the year, but you would like to see a little bit more impact from him as well. Some other noteworthy defenders, TJ Slayton plus 0.25, just back-to-back nice weeks from TJ. Nothing great, nothing amazing, nothing that's going to pop off the page, but just back-to-back solid performances from Slayton. Kenny Clark plus 0.05, still not the Kenny that we know and love. I know there were a couple of plays where he just got off the ball instantly, a couple of plays where he got completely moved off the spot again, still ends up being a positive. The big thing here, over the last 3 weeks combined, Kenny is grading in the positive. Is it the big-time impact that we're hoping for? It is not, but earlier in the year, it was negative. The last 3 weeks, at least, it's grading in the positive. That's a step in the right direction. And hopefully, I think you can see the effort there. So I'm hoping, in the course of the next few weeks, we start seeing Kenny ramp up more and more and more. And all of a sudden, he's going to be making these big plays for this defense. Same thing, Rashawn Gary, plus 0.45, 2 back-to-back nice weeks. Is it showing up in the box score? No. Do I think he's played good football the past 2 weeks? Absolutely. He's at about a plus 1.0 over the past 2 weeks. I mean, if you do plus 0.5 every week of the season on a 17-week season, you're in a really good spot overall. So you're at what, plus 8.5? I will very much take that from Rashawn Gary. That'd be a very good year for Rashawn. He graded as one of the best players on the team. So if he can continue to do what he's done the last 2 weeks, even though I still want to see him make a little bit more of an impact, I still think he's in a good spot. So he's now in a slight positive for the year. Again, it needs to be more impactful than that, but these last 2 weeks have been pretty good from Rashawn. Keyshawn Nixon, plus 0.2, good week from him. And then Xavier McKinney, brutal, absolutely brutal, plus 0.00, a neutral grade. It's all over. And the big thing here from Xavier McKinney is he just didn't get any real opportunities. The ball didn't find his way very often. In the most part, there was a couple tackles that he needed to make, didn't really do anything terribly or wrong on any play, just wasn't involved all that much. And that's okay. You can tell teams are maybe starting to avoid Xavier McKinney a little bit more. Javon Bullard, 0.00 grade. Loved the play that he made in the open field to keep Kyler Murray at bay and force him out of bounds in a scramble situation. Still a little bit of kind of like we talked about with Tucker Kraft earlier, some big plays, some negative plays. You see a little bit, he's got that rookie performance to him where you're going to see some things where all right, need to clean that up a little bit. But you also see these flashes that are just like, oh my goodness, he is so freaking talented and fun to watch. So ends up in a neutral situation here for Javon, but still love what he brings to the table. And again, going from safety to slot, back to safety, and kind of doing a bunch of different things. Still very pleased with how he's performing so far in this Jeff Hafley defense. All right. And just to recap, top three in offense: Jordan Love 3.0, Romeo Dobbs 1.05, Sean Ryan plus 0.75. Bottom three in offense: Jordan Morgan negative 0.35, Rasheed Walker negative 0.2, Elton Jenkins negative 0.2. Top three on defense: Evan Williams plus 1, Carl Brooks plus 0.9, Edgerrin Cooper plus 0.6. Bottom three on defense: Quay Walker negative 0.65, LVN negative 0.45, and Eric Stokes negative 0.35. That's going to do it for me for now. I will be back here tomorrow with Carmen Vitale. Shout out to our All-Pro and Hall of Fame members: Mo State of Minnesotan, PJ Wynn, John Wild, Shea Bradad, Brandon Pauletta, Jennifer Wright, Boom Handle, Donald Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Dan Miller, Alex Wong, Arnaldo Espinoza, Peter Ritaka, SoCal Pack, Dan Gesford, Jay Zimmerman, B Brown, and Love and Football. I will see you guys tomorrow, but until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.